to start without a safety net, right? Okay, here we go. Welcome to the circus. This is the June 12th, 2024 License and Variance Board meeting, and we will get started. I'm Richard Garland, Chair of the License and Variance Board, Parks and Recreation Director, Interim Assistant City Administrator. And that's it. That's all I do. To my left is Mary Moore. She is the Director of Library Services for the City of Smyrna. So please go visit the library if you haven't done so. It's a beautiful place. Mary does a great job. We will start with item A, which is a privileged license agent change request. Beer and wine and Sunday sales retail package at 475 Windy Hill Road, Southeast, Smyrna, Georgia. Windy Hill Smyrna LLC with Satish Kirelli as agent. Satish present? Seeing that they're not present, we'll entertain a motion to move this to the end of the agenda.
So moved.
And I will second that motion, and let's vote to do that, please. All right, we'll circle back to that if they make it. Item B is the public hearing, variance request V24-037. Reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 32 feet on land lot 453 at 1020 Pinedale Drive. John Bradford is the applicant. Is John present? Hi, John. Thank you. Ms. Crow, could you give us a background on this, please?
Yes. Okay. So good morning, Caitlin Crow, Planner 1, Community Development. So this and the next three are all going to be very similar. So apologies, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. So the first variance is V24-037 to reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 32 feet. So this subject parcel is a 0.26 acre lot located on the south side of Pinedale Drive. So the applicant is proposing to fully renovate this property. It is an existing 964 square foot home, and he is proposing to build an addition onto this as well as a front porch, which is what this variance is going to be about. So as part of this renovation, again, it's a 964 square foot home currently. After the renovation, it's actually going to be about 2,200 square feet, which also brings it in line with our R15 requirements of the minimum of 2,000 square foot building size. So the existing home does have an uncovered little stoop area, but to bring in a little bit more curb appeal to this, he is proposing to build a front porch that's roughly 208 square feet onto that front. So this is going to be encroaching into the front setback by 3 feet, just due to the really close distance that the existing house already is on the property. This home was constructed back in 1953 originally, which is prior to our current zoning ordinance from 1974. Thus, community development believes this is the minimum request needed to build any type of front porch. In fact, similar variances have been approved in this area back on Oakview Drive earlier this year, in 2012 over on Oakdale Drive, and again on Oakview back in 2005. So there's a precedent of this type of variance in the area. So after reviewing this application, staff does support the request and recommends your approval with the standard stipulation. That approval of the requested variance shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevations submitted with the variance application. And I can answer any questions.
All right. Any questions from Ms. Crow? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Bradford, could you step forward, please, sir? If you would, just state your name and address for the record so that Jill's got it.
My home address or the project address?
Well, gee, that's a really good question. Nobody ever asked me that. Which one do you prefer, Jill? Do you need his home address?
Okay.
What's the best way for us to track you down?
Well,
Cell phone number?
yeah. I don't know. Hopefully you're not tracking me down. John Bradford, home address is 3154 Dunn Street, Southeast, Smyrna, Georgia, 30080.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Anything you'd like to add to what Ms. Crow submitted?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions from Mr. Bradford on this property? Okay. Do you understand the stipulations that have been placed on this, that, Ms. Crow, the standard stipulations as far as building what you say you're going to build?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. I don't have any further questions. If you would, you're welcome to sit down. This is a
two more right after this, I'm assuming. So.
Yeah, you can sit close. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time by stepping forward to the microphone. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request V24037, reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 32 feet, land lot 453, 1020 Pinedale Drive, John Bradford, applicant.
I'll second the motion and call for a vote. Motion passes. Item C, V24-038 is a variance request to reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 32 feet on land lot 452 at 1036 Dell Avenue. John Bradford is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, background on this issue, please.
Yep. So again, Caitlin Crowe, Planner 1, Community Development. So again, just like the previous variance, this is V24-038 to reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 32 feet. So this is pretty much the same thing, just on a different property, which is a 0.28 acre lot located on the south side of Dell Avenue. So again, this is a small existing house of 744 square feet. The applicant is proposing a complete renovation with the addition of the front porch in the front as well. So just like the previous variance, this one will also bring the property in line with the R15 minimum floor area requirement. After the addition, it'll be roughly 2,300 square feet for the new single-family home. So again, this one has an uncovered stoop area. He is looking to add that front porch for some curb appeal. And again, the existing house is very close to the front setback and will encroach by 3 feet. There is one big difference for this property. There is an existing sanitary sewer easement that cuts through the rear yard substantially. Because of this, the applicant is going to kind of catty corner the new addition as well as the deck to run alongside the easement. So the Public Works Assistant Director has reviewed this request and has added a couple stipulations, which I'll read here in a moment, and is supportive of that with those stipulations. Again, just like the previous one, similar variances have been approved in the past in this area, back in 2019, 18, and then 2 back in 1998. So there's also precedence for this in the area for this type of setback encroachment. So after reviewing this variance application, staff does support the request and recommends your approval with the following 3 stipulations. The first is our standard approval of the variance is conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevations submitted with the variance application. Number 2, if any part of the deck or addition falls within the 20-foot sanitary sewer easement and work must occur in the area, the deck and or addition may be required to be moved at the property owner's expense. And then number 3, survey stakes must be installed to reflect the edge of the sanitary sewer easement and maintained throughout construction. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Crowe?
Ms. Crowe, if the homeowner were going to do any further improvements to the house, they would not be able to because of the sewer easement, correct? Like put in a pool or something like that?
Not necessarily, because there is still room in the rear. It would just be based on whatever site plan, but you may be able to fit a very small pool in there, but nothing in the middle of the yard. It would be contained to a very small section due to the easement.
And is this sewer easement, all that information on the plat?
It is not currently on the plat. This was found from our internal GIS system because it is such an old property. It was not on the original plat records.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Bradford?
Do you need my address again?
We'll concede that we recognize you as John Bradford at the previous address. Anything you'd like to add to Ms. Crowe's?
No, sir.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Bradford?
I do. Would you heard the stipulations that Ms. Crowe mentioned?
Yes.
Would you be amenable to a 4th stipulation where you would have the property replatted to show the sanitary sewer easement on that plat?
Would I be opposed to it? Why would I need to do that?
I'm just concerned about a future homeowner not realizing that that sewer easement is there since it's not on the current plat. So would you be open to a 4th stipulation to have the property replatted?
I mean, I can record I guess the site plan. or the survey. I mean, I can record the survey.
So,
What-
yeah, so essentially, oh, sorry, let me move this over. That essentially would be what the plat is the
Yeah.
survey showing the easement. And we would require that if that was a stipulation you wanted to add, just before the final certificate of completion was done, not prior to permitting.
Yeah, I mean, if we need to record it, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You want to add that? Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, yes, and you agree with the other three stipulations that Ms. Crowe read?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. All right. Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request V24038, reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 32 feet, land lot 452, 1036 Dell Avenue, John Bradford applicant, with the stipulation that a fourth condition is added to have the property replatted to show the sanitary sewer easement.
I'll second that. And let's vote. And that motion passes. Item D is V24-039, variance request to reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 32.5 feet on land lot 486 at 1121 Dell Avenue, John Bradford applicant. Ms. Crowe, background?
Yeah, Caitlin Crowe, Planner 1 Community Development. So
Welcome.
this one, we're doing a slight twist. It is from 35 feet to 32.5 feet on this at a .30 acre lot located on the north side of Dell Avenue. Otherwise, this is pretty much exactly the same. So it's an existing 773 square foot house. The applicant is proposing a remodel of the house as well as an addition in the rear and a front setback reduction for a new front porch. Just like the previous ones, this is going to bring it in line with the R15 minimum floor area. This one's going to be roughly 2,300 when finished. So an existing uncovered stoop. We're going to be putting a front porch to make it look nice from the front. The house is already existing very close to the front setback and thus needs the reduction. This house was built in 1952 and thus before the current code of 1974. Again, the minimum variance required in our opinion. This one does also have similar variance requests back in 2019 and again in 1998 in the area. In fact, one was just next door back in 2019. So the precedence is there for this type of variance. So staff does recommend approval after reviewing this application with the standard stipulation on this one. So approval of the requested variance shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevations submitted with the variance application. And I can answer any questions.
Questions? Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Bradford, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, sir.
Okay. You understand the stipulations as
Yes, sir.
read? Okay, awesome. This is a public hearing. Do you have any questions for Mr. Bradford? Okay, all right. Now that Mary doesn't have any questions. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request V24-039, reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 32.5 feet, land lot 486, 1121 Dell Avenue, John Bradford applicant.
Second. And we'll vote. That motion passes as well. Thank you, sir. We have, the next is variance request V24-040 to allow a secondary accessory structure on land lot 557 at 3282 Pine Tree Drive. Stephen Douglas is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, could we have the background on this, please?
Yes. So this variance is actually one of 4 for the property. So I will read all 4 of these together just to be a little bit more concise. And then as you know, you will vote on them individually. So the first variant, yes.
Do we need to make sure that Mr. Douglas or a representative? Okay, all right, go ahead. She's
Okay.
here. Stephen's here.
Thank you. So the first variance is V24-040 to allow for a second accessory structure. Then we have V24-041 to increase the accessory building size from 25% to 48.5% of the primary dwelling. V24-042 to increase the accessory structure height from 15 feet to 21.1 feet. And then lastly, V24-043 to reduce the northern side setback from 12 feet to 9.8 feet. So this is an existing 1.19 acre lot located on the west side of Pine Tree Drive. So the subject property actually did receive previous approval for a very similar structure back in 2012, which consisted of two variances. One was to increase the building size, and then the second was to increase the building height. However, at the time, the previous applicant had poured the driveway and the parking pad for it, but then never actually constructed the building. Now that we have a little bit of a new plan, as well as a couple more variances added, it did need to come back in front of you guys as the board. So this new garage, so it is a detached two-car garage, will actually have on the first floor, it will be the garage, a kitchenette, and a bathroom, which will be accessory to the existing pool on the property. And then on the second floor will be a living space. All of this will be accessed via interior stairs. So there's only going to be one access door from the driveway as well as the garage doors. So it'll be limited for any outside public access. The property is currently occupied by a one-story, about 5,200 square foot home. Because this structure is the size it is going to be over 25% of that. However, it is really combining three different structures into one. We have the garage, living space, as well as that kitchenette area for the pool instead of a pool house. So community development does feel that in the combination of that, the 48% is amenable. I do want to clarify that the numbers on the site plan that were submitted, we did use theirs for the house, but with our calculations, the accessory structure was slightly different, which is how we came up with the 48.5%. The existing driveway and the parking pad, as I mentioned, was poured back in 2012. It was poured a little bit closer to the side setback at 9.8 feet. Because it's existed since 2012, community development feels that this is a logical area to continue placing the new structure. So similar variance requests have been approved in the neighborhood. In fact, at the very last meeting, just up the road, we approved one over on Collier Drive for a very similar situation. And then next door in 2016 was approved, again, a very similar accessory structure. So after review of the variance application, staff is supportive of all four requests and recommends your approval with the following four stipulations. Number one is our standard stipulation. Approval of the requested variances is conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevation submitted with the variance application. Number two, the accessory structure shall not be permitted to have an oven or stove on either level without obtaining an additional variance for a second kitchen. Number three, the proposed accessory structure shall not be rented or occupied for gain except as permitted currently in Article 9 of Chapter 22 as it pertains to the operation of short-term rentals. And then number four, these conditions shall run in perpetuity with the property and as such are also applicable to any future owner. And I know that was a lot, so I'm here if you have any questions.
On that third stipulation,
Yes.
when you all have that conversation with the owner, they're given that information, they're fully vetted on, they understand what the short-term rental regulations are, and you guys clarify all of that with them. That's not anything we need to go over with them here.
I have not, gone over that in depth with the owner or the GC on this project, but if they do have questions, yes, we are more than
Okay.
happy to. It is
Okay.
available online, but it is not something I have at this point gone in depth with them over.
Okay. Because we're going to ask them in a minute if they agree to it. I
Of
just want to
course.
make sure they understand what they're agreeing to. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
I'm going to say Stephen Douglas, or you can come to the microphone and clarify where I'm wrong. If you would, state your name and address for the record,
Sure.
please.
Noel Douglas. Noel Douglas, 3282 Pine Tree Drive, Southeast in Smyrna, 30080.
Awesome. Thank you for being here this morning. Okay. You have anything that you'd like to add to what Ms. Crowe submitted?
I don't know.
Okay. And I'll ask you, do you understand stipulation number 3 as far as it pertains to the short-term rentals? You guys have reviewed that and, okay.
I
all
do,
right.
yes.
All right, excellent. Okay. Are there any questions for Ms. Douglas?
Right, and there was, stipulation 2 about no oven, that I guess Caitlin had like cooked plate, that kind of thing, which meant that no oven.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, we'll get to those. Thank you very much. There are 2 other stipulations. You understand those as well?
I do, yes.
All right, thank you very much. We're gonna have to do these one at a time. You're welcome to sit close. I'm gonna call on you each time, and you can add or detract as you'd like to. All right. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request V24040, allow second accessory structure, land lot 557, 3282 Pine Tree Drive, Stephen Douglas applicant.
I'll second that motion and call for a vote. And that motion passes. Variance request V24-041 is the request to increase the accessory building size from 25% to 48.5% of the primary dwelling on land lot 557 at 3282 Pine Tree Drive. Stephen Douglas is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, is there anything else that we need to add regarding this request?
Not at this time.
All right, any questions for Ms. Crowe regarding this request?
No.
Owner, do you have anything that you'd like to add to this request? Okay. And she said no, just in case you didn't hear her, Jill. All right. This is a public hearing. If there's, and you understand the same stipulations apply to this variance request as the first one? Okay, awesome. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request V24041, increase the accessory building size from 25% to 48.5% of the primary dwelling, land lot 557, 3282 Pine Tree Drive, Stephen Douglas.
That motion is seconded, and we'll call for a vote. Motion passes. Item G is variance request V24-024 to increase the accessory structure height from 15 feet to 21.1 feet on land lot 557 at 3282 Pine Tree Drive. Stephen Douglas is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, is there anything that we need to add further on this request?
Not at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Crowe?
No.
Ms. Douglas, is there anything you'd like to add to this request? You understand the stipulations apply to this request as well? Okay, thank you very much. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request V24042, increase the accessory structure height from 15 feet to 21.1 feet, land lot 557, 3282 Pine Tree Drive, Stephen Douglas.
And I'll second that motion and call for the vote. Motion passes. Item H is V24-043, variance request to reduce the northern side setback from 12 feet to 9.8 feet on land lot 557 at 3282 Pine Tree Drive. Stephen Douglas is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, is there anything we need to add to this request?
Not at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Crowe?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay. You threw me off my rhythm. I was really getting to go there, Mary.
Sorry.
Ms. Douglas, is there anything that you'd like to add to this? All right, do you understand the stipulations apply to this request as well? Okay. Any questions for the owner?
No.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve variance request V24043, reduce the northern side setback from 12 feet to 9.8 feet, land lot 557, 3282 Pine Tree Drive, Stephen Douglas.
I will second that motion. And we'll call for a vote. That motion passes. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not having a stroke up here or anything. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Douglas. Item I, if it's okay if we continue. Madam Clerk, may we continue with item I? Variance request V24-044 is reduce the rear setback from 50 feet to 43 feet on land lot 753 at 5120 South Cobb Drive. Danielle Sheridan is the applicant, and this item, at the request of staff, we will entertain a motion to withdraw this request.
So moved.
And I will second that request and call for a vote. Item J, and that motion passes. Item J is variance request V24-045 to reduce the southern side setback from 20 feet to 17 feet on land lot 753, 5120 South Cobb Drive. Daniel Sheridan is the applicant. Ms. Crow, could we get the background on this, please?
Ish,
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
There we go. We just like to keep it interesting here at the board. So again, Caitlin Crow, Planner 1 Community Development. So just like the previous request, we do have 3 different requests for the same property. So just as before, I will read them all together, and then you will go ahead and vote separately. So the first variance is V24-045 to reduce the southern side setback from 20 feet to 17 feet. Then we have V24-046 to reduce the required parking spaces from 28 spaces to 23 spaces. And then lastly, we have V24-047 to allow for an additional accessory structure. So this subject parcel is a 0.7 acre lot located right there, Highlands Parkway and South Cobb Drive. It is an existing Chick-fil-A location. So the existing restaurant, the applicant is proposing that it will remain, and then an addition will be added to it, and then the primary purpose will be a 2-lane drive-through that will circle the building. So this will have quite a bit of land disturbance to it, but it will create less stacking on the property. If you have ever driven by that during peak hours, luckily they are a thriving Chick-fil-A location, and the existing cars do sometimes go out to South Cobb Drive. This, as we know, is a safety issue, and by adding that second lane will allow many more cars to access the property without overflowing onto South Cobb Drive. Due to this, it is creating a couple variances that I had just mentioned. So the parking reduction is primarily to have more of the drive-through traffic rather than people parking and walking in. It will still have that option at this location, but because of the second drive-through, 5 spaces are being proposed to be removed to make way for that. So this space, it was actually approved for variances back in 2006 for the 28 spaces. But again, to make room for that drive-through, we're having to remove an additional 5. Because most of their traffic is through the drive-through and not from people parking, this should not inhibit any of their business model. So speaking of the business model, part of Chick-fil-A's charm, if you will, is that they do take orders in person from people's vehicles rather than through the window. Due to this, they are proposing 2 different canopies on the structure. One will be detached, one attached. That way their employees are comfortable if there's inclement weather or if the heat is just getting to them. So it'll make the process a little bit better for the existing employees on the site. That actually spurs 2 different variances here. We do have a setback request because one of those canopies is going to be slightly encroaching into the southern side setback by 3 feet. And then the additional accessory structure, there's an existing dumpster on the property, so this is now a second accessory structure. Since all of these are critical to their business needs, community development does not foresee any negative impacts from this. Additionally, this business has been there since 2007, so we don't anticipate that any of these will have negative impacts on any of the surrounding businesses either. So after reviewing the variance application, staff is supportive of all three requests and does recommend your approval with just the standard stipulation. Approval of the variances shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevations submitted with the variance application. And I can answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Crowe? Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Do we have a representative of Ms. Sheridan here? Step forward. You would state your name and address for the record, please?
Krishna Desai, engineer working on Chick-fil-A.
All right. We're going to take these one at a time as we have all the others. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to what Ms. Crowe submitted?
Here for any questions?
Okay, do you have any questions?
Quick question about the reduction in the spaces for parking.
Mhm.
That doesn't affect the number of spaces available for handicap, right?
Correct. No, we still meet ADA code.
And did you want to say something about what prompted this overall project to begin with?
So I guess originally, I don't know if you recall, last year we did propose the scrape of the entire Chick-fil-A building, but that was to be a drive-through only. And unfortunately, once Chick-fil-A started to look into the city of Smyrna and the customers going to that site, we realized, we do want to have some customers being able to go inside, use the restroom and all that stuff. So we decided to remodel the building versus demolishing it.
What is the timeline for the remodel?
Construction-wise, I would say about 3 to 6 months, depends. Variance-wise, obviously, it's dependent on the permits. Our CSD would be, I would say, fall, sometime in the fall.
Will the facility be closed at any point completely?
It may be. I can't answer that completely just yet. I want to say they usually try to break it up based off of the closest Chick-fil-A and service times on those. So if the closest Chick-fil-A is within a certain proximity, they might have it closed for about a month and then open it back up.
I see, okay.
Resolve any dinner plan questions you may have? Okay. Okay. I think that there were some stipulations that Ms. Crowe expressed. You guys understand what those stipulations are and are willing
Yes,
to
sir.
adhere to them? Okay, thank you very much. All right, this is a public hearing. If there are no other questions for the applicant, we'll move on to the public hearing phase of this. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request V24045, reduce the southern side setback from 20 feet to 17 feet, land lot 753, 5120 South Cobb Drive, Danielle Sheridan.
I'll second that motion and call for a vote. And that motion passes. Item K is V24-046, which is a variance request to reduce the required parking spaces from 28 spaces to 23 spaces on land lot 753 at 5120 South Cobb Drive. Daniel Sheridan is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, is there anything you'd like to add to this request?
Not at this time.
All right, any questions for Ms. Crowe? Is there anything that you'd like to add to this request?
No, sir.
Okay, any questions for the owner?
No.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request V24046, reduce the required parking spaces from 28 spaces to 23 spaces, land lot 753, 5120 South Cobb Drive, Danielle Sheridan.
I'll second that motion and call for a vote. That motion passes. Item L is V24-047, which is a variance request to allow an additional accessory structure on land lot 753 at 5120 South Cobb Drive, Daniel Sheridan, owner, or applicant, I should say. Ms. Crowe, is there anything that you'd like to add to this request?
Not at this time.
Okay, any questions from Ms. Crowe?
No.
All right. As we understand it, these accessory structures are the canopies over the drive-through ordering lane and pickup lane, correct?
Only one of them. One of them is going to be attached to the building, the other is detached, and then we have an existing dumpster and shed on the property, so those will be the two that are on the property.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarification. Any other questions from Ms. Crowe?
Nope.
Anything you'd like to add to that request?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions for the owner?
No.
All right. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve variance request B24047, allow additional accessory structure, land lot 753, 5120 South Cobb Drive, Daniel Sheridan.
Second that motion and call for a vote. And that motion passes as well. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
At this time, we will move back to item A and see if we have, is Satish Corelli present?
Okay.
Say that again?
He's representing him.
Okay.
I'm here to represent Satish Kureli.
Okay. Are we good with that, or do we need him here? Is he gonna, is Satish the person who's gonna be holding, is he the license agent? Does he need to be present? Yes, he does.
Probably, unless he's, are you on the application?
I don't think so. I have an application. I need to check with him.
What is your affiliation?
So I'm the manager over there.
You were the
Ma-
general manager?
The store manager, yes.
Are you identified on the application as a store manager?
I think so. I think he did the application, so he asked me to be here. So
I'd recommend tabling it.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna table this until we can get Satish present or get you listed as the agent change,
yes, sir.
license agent. So entertain a motion to table this request.
Make a motion to table privilege license agent change request, beer and wine and Sunday sales retail package, 475 Windy Hill Road, Southeast, Smyrna, Georgia, 30082, Windy Hill Smyrna LLC, with Satish Corelli as agent.
I will second that motion to table. Then that passes, and we'll be in touch with you guys to get this rescheduled for you guys to be able to come
Yes,
back, okay? Thank you.
The next meeting is the 26th.
He has to be here, or
Yeah, he has to be here. He is the applicant. This person has to be the agent. All right.
The next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes of MIN 2024-073, approval of the May 22nd, 2024 License and Variance Board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Have a motion, I'll second that, and call for a vote. And that motion passes. Is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, will adjourn.